All right, everybody, we're here with Breer coming to us to visit the Seattle Seahawks and see what's going on today. Bert, great to have you. What brings you to Seattle?
Well, this is my seventh camp, I think, so just making the rounds and seeing people, and obviously it's going to be interesting to get out here and see it look a lot different than it has in a long time. God, I remember coming here, when Pete first got the job. So, here and in New England, it's interesting to come to these places where there's been change after things having been done one way for a long time.
Yeah, so you were here well back when Pete started. Do you remember that transition? And what are you kind of looking for when you're coming here to see Mike Macdonald get going?
I mean, what was interesting about it was you think about perception of Pete now and what it was then, and it was so much different. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of question on whether or not his program was going to translate to the NFL. Obviously he'd coached in the NFL before, but I think there were a lot of fair questions to ask about where he and John Schneider were going to take it. You had Matt Hasselbeck at the end of his career there. The roster was, I think, a little bit of a mess, to put it lightly. And they were, preparing to undergo a pretty thorough rebuild. So that to me was sort of more of a ground up. How quickly can we get it turned around? Just trying to pour new, good young players onto the team and keep turning over the roster. This, I think, is a little different than that. This, to me, there's more, I think, building blocks in place. Now we'll see what happens with guys like Devon Witherspoon and and Charles Cross and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Obviously DK Metcalf's established, but they've got a lot of guys here who I'd say, Reek Willen, guys who are on the way up and still could get better, And so I think what Mike Macdonald is inheriting, obviously having John Schneider carry over as the general manager, is a little more fully formed than what Pete Carroll inherited. You got a better quarterback situation, I think. Again, Matt Hasselbeck had a great career, but was sort of at the end then. I think Gino's got a little more gas left in the tank, and we'll see where they can take it.
Have you seen a situation in the NFL similar to this where not only is it a new head coach, youngest head coach in the league, first-time head coach, but you got a first-time offensive coordinator coming from college, you got a coaching staff that for the most part, they haven't coached together, Kennedy Palomalu, Frisman Jackson, all these guys are getting to know each other as well. It seems like a pretty unique situation.
Yeah, it's interesting that way. I hadn't actually thought about that, but there are a couple of different ways you can do it, and I think what Mike Macdonald was trying to do is trying to put the best people in his building, and I think it does relate a little bit to how maybe Brian Daboll built his staff with the Giants a couple of years ago, where he didn't really know Wink Martindale, and he didn't have some long-standing working relationship with Mike Kafka. But they went through a very thorough process in trying to balance what Brian Daboll knew with getting new ideas in the building. And so, I think a big part of what Mike's trying to do is infuse new ideas into what he already believes and what he's going to do to lay a foundation here. And Ryan Grubb's is one of the more highly regarded offensive coaches in all of football. He's had feelers from the NFL before. Nick Saban tried to hire him a year ago. So I know a lot of people in the NFL community in general are excited to see what he can do. So I think as much as anything else, it's the idea is to try to inject new ideas into what Mike Macdonald's going to build and try to create almost this think tank where you can have all that stuff coalesce together. But obviously, if you're doing it with guys you don't know as well, you're projecting a little bit more than you would be if it was a bunch of guys that you were bringing over with you.
All right, Bert, I know you got to run. One more question. Oddsmakers have the Seahawks over and under at 7.5 wins after winning 9 games the last 2 years. Is that your perception, national perception about what this team, that they're going to take a step back this year?
I don't think – no. I mean, I think they sort of are where they are right now. Certainly a playoff contender. Being in the NFC, I think, helps them. I think there's talent on the roster. I actually think over the last few years, John Schneider and the personnel department have done a good job, getting their stride back, and I think making the most out of the capital they got back for Russell Wilson. So I think there's a good young foundation here. I think Geno can play. Like I do think like he's at the very least a good quarterback to bridge you from one era to the next. And we'll see where they can take it. But I think it's a contender. Now, is it a Super Bowl contender? That's a different conversation. But I think it's a team that can be back in the playoffs for sure, especially because, again, they're in the NFC.
All right, what should folks be looking for from MMQB coming up?
Well, I might camp takeaways from all those spots that I've been. So far, I've been to the 5 teams in LA: the Chargers, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Saints. Was with the Cardinals yesterday. I'm here today. Go to San Francisco tomorrow, and then start to work my way east.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's exciting time of year, and so you can get my takeaways on all of those things, and then all the other stuff, video stuff, all the other stuff we're putting up there.
Awesome, Bert. Great to have you here. Thanks. Bert Breer, check him out, MMQB. Thank you.